Very good morning to everyone. Welcome to our Shanghai Talk Show again. Today I'm your host. I'm SC Leong. They will be hosting one of our very VVIP special person all the way from Malacca. His name is CS Loo. He is very responsible for our project, The Sale. He is the main architect for our project. So as you can see behind us, we have both the sales first design and the second design. Of course, on my right hand side, this is the old design. And now we have transformed it into the new design, which is bigger, more iconic. And of course, this is all thanks to our guest today, Mr. CS Loo. Hi, Mr. CS Loo.
Hello, Nicholas. How are you?
Good morning. You have been quite famous since our Shanghai International's the sale has begun. A lot of people have been asking about who's the architect behind this anonymous design. Could you tell us more about yourself, please?
Well, I'm Mr. Loo from CS Loo Architect. I was born in Malacca, brought up here. I went to school all my life in Malacca. Then I was so lucky to get a government JPA scholarship to continue my architecture studies in the University of Edinburgh for 5 years. So after I came back, I worked for Kajima in KL for a year. Then I came back to Malacca, worked for other architect firms, and then I started my own firm. It has been about 12 years since I started my firm.
Thank you, Mr. Loo. I want to bring you into our first topic today, and the most asked about the sale. What was your inspiration in creating and designing the sales concept?
Well, when the client came to me, they want something iconic for Malacca. They want something like really stand out. For example, in Australia, Sydney, you have a Sydney Opera House. In Dubai, you have a Burj Khalifa. In Paris, you have a Eiffel Tower. But they want something really iconic for Malacca. I was thinking, what can I use to translate into a relevant architectural language, turn it into an iconic building? For example, in Malacca, we know we have A Famosa. Everybody knows about A Famosa, Fort A Famosa. And then culture-wise, we have Babadonia, Chinese, Malay, Portuguese, Dutch. So finally, I came to the idea of history. When we went to school, all our life, we studied that Malacca, at the Straits of Malacca, is a very important port whereby ships from all different countries, especially from China to Malacca, then Malacca to India and to Arab, they all stop in Malacca. So that's how the idea of a port city of ships coming together form an idea, and we turn it into an architectural language. That's how we got the sale today. Of course, it evolved from a simple sail building of 3 sails into a huge building with 9 sail ships converged together into a center.
Okay, that's very intriguing. In school, we have studied a lot about the history of Malacca, and we know that it has always been the point whereby the East-West meet and got trading behind it. And of course, throughout time, this has been revived as much as possible, and I think now in Shanghai's project, Malacca will be a very much more popular place for everyone to visit next time with the sales development. Mr. Loo, what do you think is so unique about this project, The Sale?
Well, this project is really huge. It sits on a 27 acres land divided into 4 phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and Phase 4. Phase 1 is the smallest. It's the sales gallery, and it consists of a huge sales area, exhibition area, and a 360-degree dome for people to experience what it's like to walk into a space, experience these 360 degrees without actually going to the real place. For example, you could be in Paris today without going away, without wearing the special glasses to experience this 360-degree thing.
Yep.
And then we have Phase 2. Phase 2 consists of the 4-story commercial shop lots. Now that is unique because it's a combination of different culture, different history. We have Babylonia, Japanese, Chinese, colonial, and all these are translated into architecture language and concentrated in Phase 2. So when people go to this area, they have really able to experience what it's like, the different culture, the different food, history of Malacca. And then finally, we have Phase 3 and Phase 4, which is the main building, which is the combination of 9 towers. And these are so unique is because if you notice carefully, the 9 towers are consist of 3 different sail designs. The first 3, which we call the Bay 1, Bay 2, Bay 3, is of course a Chinese sail ship. And then we have Future 1, Future 2, Future 3 is a modern sail ship. Then we have Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. There is another sail ship. So it's all translated from a sail design. So if you look carefully and you notice that These are all really unique design and really try very hard to put them together. And so far, we are very happy with the result.
Talking about technical difficulties, Mr. Loo, what were the difficulties level of building the sale compared to building normal commercial or residential projects?
Well, you see, the sail consists of 9 towers. They all link into a same common podium. That itself is very difficult and not that I've heard of actually. Normally we have 2 towers, at the most 3 towers, which is common. It's not that difficult to build, but we have 9 towers and the shape are not vertical. They are not straight up like a box. They all have a slight curve. Even the podium itself has a curve to mimic the shape of the hull of a ship. So all this makes it so difficult, especially for my structural engineer. So we are really spending a lot of time to design, to do computer simulation, to calculate the wind load, and we try to reduce the size of structure as well so that they don't appear too bulky. Even all this will affect the room layout. For example, because it's a seaside, we have to take into consideration the wind direction. So we cannot just say, oh, we reduce the structure, we increase the usable floor area. No, we can't do that. So it has to be a compromise and everything has to be really carefully studied by the engineers.
Understand, Mr. Loo. Of course, that also, the difficulties level of this project has also transformed into the iconic design of this whole project itself. And we are very proud that we can do this project and make it a dream come true. So, Mr. Loo, throughout this whole project in our first phase, what do you see will be the biggest challenge down the road?
Well, at the moment, we are facing a lot of problems because of the MCO, Movement Control Order. We cannot have the Panasonic team to come down to do a test, a mock-up of the 3D effect for the phase 1. Even then, the order and delivery of material from Arab countries for the aluminium gold cladding and the acrylic roof, all these are all from overseas. All this take time. So I think time is not on our side. But we are trying very hard. And then in the phase 2, because as you know, this is a sea reclaimed area. As we're going to start our construction, the digging for the basement, we foresee we're going to face a lot of problems with high tide. We're going to need a lot of pumps. We're going to need the sheet pile for retaining wall. All this will be a lot of site difficulty that we can foresee. And I have not even started into the phase 3 and phase 4 yet, because when the piling starts for that, it will be even a lot more things that we have to consider.
Yeah. Talking about difficulties during the MCO time, I think a lot of our materials and suppliers are coming from overseas, and shipping matters have been quite difficult during this time. So truly understand on that. Mr. Loo, the whole project, the sale, is built on a reclamation land. But of course, to others that hasn't heard of reclamation land before, what are the difficulties of building a project on it?
A lot of people they fear when they heard about reclaimed land. They are this fear. They say, how can you build so soon? But they misunderstood. When we build a building on reclaimed land, the building don't sit on the sand or the soil that we reclaim. The building has piling. From what my engineers advise, the pile, we can pile all the way until it hit the hard layer or the stable layer of the earth. And for our case, the average depth is about 48 meters or about 158 feet. In fact, piling is in progress at site now. And after all piles have been done, the engineers will test whether those piles have really reached the hard layer. But we can test by, for example, the pile go all the way and it hit the hard layer, and then we test on the top here whether the pile can still go in or not. If it cannot go in anymore, that means the pile is set and is safe. So in other words, for building sitting on reclaimed land is not really an issue.
Yeah, as you can say, a lot of people have the imagination thinking that once we build a project on sand, is it stable? What about wind power coming from the sea and everything on that? Of course, all this is based on our scientific research, and of course we get certificates from the government to say it's safe to be built on there.
Okay, another difficulty we face when building on reclaimed land, it's not really reclaimed land's issue, but it's a seaside issue. We have to take into consideration wind speed, wind load. I mean, high tower, we definitely have wind calculation, all that no issue. But even for 2-story shops, we insist the shop's glass windows must be able to have wind load calculation, must be able to withstand the wind speed in the Straits of Malacca, to avoid leakages and permeation of wind-driven rain. Our contractors and our engineers are checking on that now. For example, the glass for even the 2-story shop, 8mm tempered glass is normally sufficient, but we insist on a 12mm thick, a much thicker tempered glass, so that the glass will not curve under strong wind. And when the wind is too strong, you bring the rain in. So we really take these things very seriously. And another difficulty we face is, of course, high tide. When we do piling, we need to excavate for pile cap, so water level is really high. So we have to have a lot of pumps to start pumping the water out.
So, Mr. Loo, for all our listeners today, of course, they are not developers, but they're mostly investors and investing into properties. But as a property developer, what do they need to know? As in from the government's procedure, from getting planning, development order, and also building plans. Can you explain more to our listeners today?
When developers want to have planning approval or building plan approval, they have to go through this what we call one-stop center OSC meeting in the local council. Even though the state government, the local council have been very helpful to investors to make things easier for us, but there's a lot of things we still have to comply. For example, for the building of this size, they require us to do EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment, whereby we had to get a consultant engineer to study the quality of water, air, noise, garbage that this project will cause. We had to write a lot of report and do monitoring throughout the construction time. And then the next, we had to do traffic impact assessment, whereby we then need to get another traffic engineer to study the load of traffic that will be coming into this site in, say, 10 years' time or 5 years' time when the thing is fully operational. We are talking about 10,000 cars coming in and out. So he has to study the existing road, the existing traffic light, whether it's able to cater. If it's not able to cater, we have to upgrade those roads, upgrade those traffic lights. But lucky for us, this area is a new business center whereby most of the roads are wide enough and the traffic lights are all adequate. And then, of course, we have to comply with the plot ratio. We cannot build as high as we want or as many units as we want. And then we have to provide for car parks. For your info, this project, we have more than 7,000 car parks in this site alone. It's probably the most for whole of Malacca. And then we had to get another consultant to study the car movement within this building, whether during peak period, would there be a jam for cars coming in, cars going out. And then we also have to study the road access into the site coming out. If the access is not enough, we have to build flyover bridges. So as you know, we already proposed one flyover going in and another flyover going out, which I'm quite glad to hear that Dr. President Leong agrees to all this as long as it makes life easier for the future tenants. Of course, the most important will be firefighting and the structural report and all this. If you can comply, then only we can get approval. So a small project will take about 4 to 6 months. A big project as this, we managed to get it approved within 6 months. Is really very good. Of
course, the sale in the history of Malacca, I think, will come down to be one of the biggest development in terms of GDV. It also has the longest swimming pool in Malacca. It has also the biggest convention center in Malacca. It will also be the tallest building in Malacca. Another joke put aside, if we put all 9 towers up together, it will be the tallest building in the world too. So yes. The sale has a lot of records to be broken in the near future. We are very proud again to be participating in this project.